friends, it is time. It is time. If you are a YONA of the Dawn fan, I am talking, rambling all about my thoughts and feelings on the masterpiece called YONA of the Dawn. Hello friends, happy Friday. I'm very excited about this video. I was going to jump into my video review of YONA of the Dawn. I have my giant stack of YONA here, like right here on the side. And I will just say that I took my thumbnail photo first and my poor arms were shaking. I was like, apparently YONA of the Dawn can be a workout to get in shape. But before I go into the video review, I have some very exciting news involving YONA of the Dawn. I am low-key opening up my pen business that I opened, I think a year ago, Cherry Tangerine Creations, and I'm so very excited because I am pinning a pin of Sinha. Here is the pin design. He is currently in production right now as we speak. He's so amazing. I love his character very much, and so I wanted to share the news. If you're interested in getting this beautiful, awesome Sinha pin, I'm going to leave a link down below to a newsletter that I'm going to be forming for Cherry Tangerines to keep up on updates of when the pin drop of this is, and you can purchase one if you are interested. This is going to be like an LE18, which means it's going to be a limited edition. There'll be only 18 available worldwide. As you will see later on in this video, I love and adore Sinha's character very much, and I have felt massively inspired to do Sinha pins. So that's why I said it's low-key. I won't be doing like a public release, on my like Cherry Tangerine account on Instagram. I'm only be doing it on my personal profile for right now because I just need a Sinha pin, and I've got like 4 or 5 that are in mind for just Sinha alone because his character is so amazing. So I just wanted to share that news that I have a YONA of the Dawn, specifically Sinha pin that is coming, and if you're interested in buying one, please subscribe down to the newsletter or click on the link down below to subscribe to the newsletter, or you can follow me on Instagram. Keep an eye on that as well, but I just wanted to share that because I love his character so very much, and I was like, I'm gonna have my first Sinha pin, like yes, well, technically I already have one, but that's beside the point. This will be my first pin that's not Haikyuu that I've ever put into production. Ramble aside, I hope that you love that Sinha pin design. I will leave the artist's name down below. He's so amazing, and I just greatly loved how that design turned out. And I meant to say it was inspired by one of the back covers of YONA. I don't remember which one, but hopefully at some point we'll get to it. I do not want to make my stack of manga fall. But here we go. Let's dive into the actual video review of this. So I officially read YONA of the Dawn. This was one of the titles that was voted or had the most votes, and like literally probably one of the most votes of when I asked what manga should I read from the Devotional Finding God anime. I have all the results up here in this video. Had some special guests. It was really awesome, and I can't believe like that this is the like final volume, the final series from that video that like I've read, or maybe I should say like the final manga from that series that I've read. Hopefully that makes sense, but it's just like totally surreal because all summer long I have been reading manga that you guys have voted for, and it's been really awesome. I plan to do some kind of wrap-up video or celebration video next week. Still thinking of what exactly I want to do. If you guys have any ideas, tell me down below. I'd be totally interested. But yes, I finally read YONA of the Dawn, and it's very surreal personally because I don't think I ever expected to read YONA, because currently I have read up to date, which is 36 volumes as of this video. Volume 37 comes out, I think, October 4th. Definitely I'm going to be pre-ordering it. And I saw volume 38 comes out next March, which is so long of a wait. But in case if you're like me and you're like, you've seen YONA of the Dawn, you know it's very popular in the shoujo community, but you're like, I have no idea what this manga is about. This series is about YONA right here, who is our main heroine. She is a princess. She has lived very peacefully in her, let's say castle, but just in her home. She lives with her father, and just life is pretty much great. She enjoys hanging out with her father, as well as her personal bodyguard. Man, I'm so excited I can't even talk, but her personal bodyguard, Hawk, and she also occasionally hangs out with the man she loves, who is Soo-won, whenever he comes. Well, like, she loves him, but he also comes to visit occasionally. So that is much of her life, but it's her 16th birthday. She's very excited, becoming, 16 everything, but tragically on the night of her birthday, she sees a loved one who is murdered right before her very eyes, and as a result, she has to escape. She flees the the kingdom with Hawk as her bodyguard, and she is totally in shambles. Every path that she's looking at just leads to, or looks like it will lead to death or more pain. There's not much like hope. She doesn't know what's going to happen to her, and if she even has a place anymore like in the kingdom, so to speak, because of what has happened. That's the opening mainly of Yona, and we follow her story from who she was now on the run, and that continues to up to volume 36, like I said, which is the latest volume. This was an adventure, friends. This was such an adventure. I don't even know, honestly, where to start. I definitely plan to do my best to keep this video spoiler free, so I'm thinking I will probably mainly focus on my feelings and thoughts when it comes to the characters rather than the series itself. It was an up and down adventure, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, though I will say, in the beginning, when I read Yona, if you followed my reviews on Goodreads, I really was not hooked on Yona in the beginning. I wouldn't say I disliked Yona of the Dawn, but I was not hooked the way I expected. This first volume was actually really surprising. I was like, I just don't know, but I know when I first started Yona, I had a very rough mental weekend. Like, I had cheered up, felt better, and then I read this first volume and I was like, gee, I'm down in the dumps again. Like, it's not a light and shoujo fluffy story at all. Like I said in the beginning, this is a masterpiece. While some of the events that take place, it is more of a political story that I'm used to, and I sort of realized when reading this, politics is not necessarily my cup of tea, but I love the characters so very much. Though, like I said in the beginning, I mean, it honestly took me like 10 volumes to actually get into the story. I adored Sinha, but there were, I think, issues I had, and it's hard thinking back on exactly what was it, like trying to pinpoint it, but I didn't love how, in a way, it seemed very much like a reverse harem, but without the romance. Definitely without the romance, like that's not there, but it was hard, I think, in this being my first time reading a story where there's one female lead and you have all of these who are supposed to be very hot and attractive guys around her. There's nothing in the beginning that leads me to believe that this is going to be like or look like a trifecta romance. Like that's just not it. And I think too in the beginning, Hawk is quite the scoundrel, and I was completely caught off guard by that. I was like, he's not what I expected. He grows a lot throughout the series, and I definitely like Hawk. In fact, I think it was around volume 10 or 15, I actually bought a Hawk pin, and I shared on Goodreads, like, look guys, you may think I'm not loving Yona because I'm not giving all these like raving 5 stars for this series, but I have a Hawk pin to prove that I do in fact like Yona, because like I said, I did. It just took me a while to really get into it. Honestly, a surprise, because in the beginning, I did not hate Suwon, guys. I know that's a super unpopular opinion. I genuinely liked his character in the beginning. In fact, if I'm honest, Suwon was the one that was carrying the story for me in the beginning. When he was on page, things just seemed to liven up, and I really, really enjoyed it. I love seeing him, what he was going to do. Does that mean that I agree with his actions of what happens? No, please don't think that I think that's okay. I don't, but it was just like, if he's supposed to be the villain, if he's supposed to be the bad guy in this story, he sure is doing a bad job, because he is genuinely helping out the kingdom. And so I couldn't hate his guts. There were certain scenes in the art is gorgeous, and you can tell so much by expressions. And this is one of the few times I feel like I actually slowed down reading and took in the art, because like I said, there was a facial expression he had. I don't know what volume, but I was like, things are not what they appear to be with this character. And that just carried on really for a lot of it. It really wasn't until I feel like getting to the volumes of the 30s that I started to have a little bit more questionable thoughts about Suwon, and I can't say anything about that because that would be like massive spoilers. He's an interesting and complicated character, and I found that I really enjoyed that in the beginning because he was not purely black and white, I guess. Maybe that doesn't explain it, but I loved this character in the beginning, guys. I know we're supposed to hate Suwon, but he was so great, and I think it was volume 8. I think it was this one. Oh my goodness, like he shined on page, and I was totally here for it, guys. I was totally here for it. I'm so sorry if anybody's like, how could you like him? But I just did. I didn't have an issue with them. I'm shocked, very shocked, because I came in prepared to hate his guts, because I don't know many who actually love his character or even like his character. So I was like, wow, Suwon is not this bad guy like I thought. And I meant to bring that up with that. Taejun right here, I love his character. He was another villainous character, and it was just funny because I don't typically like the villainous-like characters, but those were the characters that were carrying the beginning for me of where I really enjoyed it. In fact, when Taejun, I feel like that was the big turning point for me. When he comes on the scene later on, that's when I got really interested into Yona. I wanted to keep reading volumes because, man, there was a morning I woke up really early. I don't know what volume it was. And I remember thinking, I don't know what to do because I'm not loving Yona. And I prayed so hard that I would have a change of heart, that I would love this series. I was a stressful hot mess in the beginning, and maybe that was some of it. I felt there was a lot of pressure because I was like, people really want me to love this series, and I'm not loving this series the way that people wanted me to or expected me to. I had to be very mindful not to go read a bunch of reviews on Goodreads because I would give it like 4 stars and didn't like certain things, and people would be like, oh, it's so amazing. And I just felt so bad because I'm like, that doesn't mean that I don't like it. I know a really great example of this was volume 19. Oh my goodness. I went and read some of my friends' reviews, and they were like, it was so great. It was so great. Dude, I hated the beginning of this manga right here because it involves Sinha, and I did not like what happened. And I was on an angry rant. I mean, it's not a bad volume or anything. I give it 4 stars, but like the beginning, what happens with Sinha, I was so mad, guys. I was so mad. So after that, I was like, Laura, you can't stress about that you are enjoying this differently and that you're not giving it glowing 5 stars every single time. Now, that's not to say that I did not enjoy Yona. I am getting the reprints. I'm sold. I'm invested. I want to learn more. I'm scared for things like the foreshadowing. I hope it's not foreshadowing. Oh my goodness. In volume 36, please. Oh my goodness. I have so many thoughts. I spammed 2 different friends this morning as of finishing that volume asking, like, what do you think this means? Because I'm scared. I'm scared, okay? So yes, I really enjoyed Yona, but it was an interesting adventure for me. And talking about adventure, sorry guys, overly excited here. This series is unlike any other shoujo manga I have read. It does not fit those typical shoujo beats whatsoever. I mean, for me, I'm gonna say for me personally, when I read shoujo manga, I'm here for the romance. And if you've read Yona is not a romance-heavy story whatsoever. And with that said, I thought I'd be like on the Yona and Hawk ship ASAP. No, it was well over half the series before I actually boarded the ship. I felt I was hanging around in the shallow water near the ship, like, oh, seeing what this is about, I like it, the ship looks good, but like, before I actually got on the ship, I mean, it was like in the 20s or volume 20 when I was actually on board on the ship, like, I'm not leaving, I'm staying here. That was a really interesting thing because as somebody who loves and adores romance, and like that is what I'm here for in storytelling majority of the time, I was very caught off guard that I was okay with the lack of romance for a really long time. And then when I was on the ship, I was actually sort of mad because I was like, oh, like, I think it's like around volume 30. I was like, how is this ship gonna be sailing like this? And then the ship just stopped sailing. Oh man, I was so upset. Anyway, it's great. It works out. I will say though that the moments we get on that Yona and Hawk ship, they have some of the most passionate moments that I have seen in shoujo beat manga or shoujo manga as well. It is good stuff. It is good, and it's good. It's good. So back to the adventure thing, because you guys, I'm just so excited. I'm scattered brain, but the adventure is really great. Like, there's so much traveling, and we have a map in this series. We have an actual map. Of course, I don't know if I'll be able to find the map and show you the map, but we do have a legit map of this world, and it is so great. I feel like maps in manga are extremely rare, and that could be too because I have not read a lot of fantasy-based manga, so I don't know, maybe that's true for other fantasy shoujo manga, I don't know. But it was so great. She goes all over the place, and I really, really enjoyed that. Like, that was so fun. That's part of actually why when volume 30 rolls around and they're not doing quite all of the same adventuring, I was like, I want the adventure. I'm missing the adventure. And Yoni even says, there's a moment where she says that those days have come to an end. I'm just like, no, I'm in denial. With all of that said, let's go ahead and dive into some of the characters. And we'll go and start sort of like when we meet the dragons, because they were a little bit of the harder part I had in the beginning. And it's interesting. I'm going to tell you something, like, Laura, that is so contradictory. And I know it is. I don't know. But it's interesting because the issue that I had in the beginning from fully enjoying the series is I did not like how the dragon's blood sort of, I felt like at first, force these young men to serve Yona. I didn't like it. I didn't want them to be forced. But I say that because with the first guy, Kija, I was glad how willing he was, and like that his life was almost like dedicated to serving the master, serving Yona. I love that. But then we get to Jaeha, and I was like, that man don't need to serve Yona. I did not want him to be a dragon. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, you need to stay a pirate. And I'm gonna blame my love for One Piece and the influence of One Piece for that mindset, because that attitude, because I'm like, man, a pirate deserves to be free and Jaeha deserves to be free. Yeah, I know it's totally contradictory. I don't know, guys. My only guess is that it's their personalities, I guess. And again, let's go back to Kija. I loved Kija. He is my second favorite dragon. He grows so much in this series and I just totally eat it up. He is so great. He's such a wonderful character. I love when we first meet him, his dedication and his strength and how he just gives us all, how he has no doubts of his purpose, of what he's supposed to do, how he embraces that, especially when we meet other characters and are like, I'm not a puppet like you. Like, get out of here, man. Like, don't tell Kija that. And so I love, and he even thinks about that, about being told that. And I love his faith, his dedication, truly how he just finds it a joy to serve Yona, to work with Yona. And Gran, when Yona asks the dragons to join her, it's not because of the dragon blood. She wants their help. And I really, really enjoyed how that unfolded, how Yona would handle those situations. She really is a great heroine. And I saw so many fantastic aspects and things in her that I really did enjoy. So Kija was such a wonderful dragon. I'm glad that he was actually the first one, because I feel like it really set the, I would say set the bar. I don't know, because each dragon, when you meet them, is very, very different. But I do feel it was the best to have Kija, and I loved him. And him and Hawk fighting all the time is absolutely hilarious. It is such a great joy to see them going back and forth. I really love how, as the series progressed, that Hawk views him as an older brother. It is so perfect. They are such a great team, and I really love Kija. I don't talk about him enough in my reviews on Goodreads whatsoever, but he is definitely my second favorite dragon. Now, if you haven't followed my reviews, you know who my first dragon is. You probably knew that just from the beginning, and that is Sinha. My boy Sinha. I love and adore his character so much. He is up there in my top 5 favorite characters. I adore his character. He can do no wrong in my eyes. Like, I love him. When we first meet him, guys, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it, but I love him so very much. His growth in this series has been honestly everything. And every time, I mean, he doesn't have to be fully in the manga in that volume. Granted, I obviously want him to be, but like just a panel is enough. And it has to be mentioned in my review on Goodreads. It just has to. Like, I'm like, it ain't a full review if it's Sinha ain't mentioned in this. So his growth is everything. I love it so very much. His character is just so absolutely wonderful, and I feel like just the way that Yona takes him in, and I will say that so many times where my view of Yona changed and I found her so enduring is when she would tell Sinha things. I'm like, girl, thank you, because if I could tell Sinha these things, I would, and I just soaked it in. It really helped me to bond with Yona and really enjoy her character, because like I said, she honestly would say things to Sinha that were just perfection, that I'm just like, yes, like you're speaking from my heart to this fictional character that I absolutely love so incredibly much. Definitely stay tuned for more Sinha pins in the future, because I need more of him. I really, really love his character. Like, I cannot even go into all the words, but I will say that he is up there with Hinata Shoyo in characters that have deeply impacted me. Sinha is for very much different reasons, and if somebody were to ask me, like, well, tell me just straightforward, I don't know if I could give you a straightforward answer. In fact, I'm bummed that I don't have volume 4, because that's the one volume that, like, we first meet Sinha, and I'm just like, dude, I have volume 4 digitally, but I definitely am stocking them updates updates October 7th, I think, is when we're supposed to get a bunch of volumes of Yona. You know your girl's stocking on Right Stuff Anime. I already have it in my cart on Right Stuff, so that when they come in back in stock, boom, I can order it ASAP. I'm putting off my October manga haul order, whatever you want to call it, until I know, hopefully, that those Yona volumes are available. I need this series to be completed. I'm already thinking of going back and rereading the beginning because I want to see how my view of all these characters is different, knowing and seeing their growth by the end. Our next dragon, I feel, is the one that me and him, I feel like, came the longest when it comes to having that connection with, and that is Jaeha. I honestly feel just how my views of him from the beginning to now is very different, not in a bad way, but I felt it was just very complicated with Jaeha, and I feel like his reaction was very realistic, and so his struggles were, I don't know, it was something I feel like I personally needed and appreciated seeing unfold on page, and it made it that much more satisfying. In fact, when Jaeha decides to become and embrace being a dragon, that moment was very much everything for me. He's an interesting character. Like, I wish I could pinpoint, but I just feel like inside when I think about him and my view of him, I just feel like we have come the longest way, and I deeply love his character. It was interesting when I was editing my video last week, which was really nerve-wracking, but I really appreciate everybody's love and kind words about that video. I was editing that video, and it was just an interesting thing. So growing up, I don't know how many times I was told or asked, do I do drugs? I look like I'm stoned because of my eyes, and I guess that I don't know, just because of my eyes. And so it was definitely at times it really hurt my self-confidence. But as I was editing, it was out of the blue, guys, I thought of Jaeha and how Hawk jokes and calls him droopy eyes. And I was like, you know, here is this amazing young man who does so much, and it sounds really weird, but is considered to be attractive to other people and does not let, I guess, his droopy eyes bring him down. I mean, I don't struggle with that now, but it was so encouraging to me. And I was just like, man, I wish my younger self could have seen a character like Jaeha. Maybe it wouldn't have been the same back then, but it just made his character that much more special to me, and really, really loved him. Like, that was one thing I was thinking about last night, and I guess we'll just go ahead and talk about that, is that I struggled because I was like, I don't know if I would call this series a favorite, and I was like, why wouldn't I? I love these characters, and I think that is the thing. This series is a lot heavier than what I typically enjoy reading in manga. There's great humor, there's usually a great balance, but man, those ups and downs, like those downs were really, really hard for me. There were times where the intensity in the battles, it was too much for me, and it made me realize I'll probably never be able to read Demon Slayer. If I can't handle the graphic violence in Yona, which isn't even graphic, then no way would I be able to handle Rengoku's story in Demon Slayer, which was very saddening if I'm honest. But I realized that I love these characters. I love these characters. I am here for the long haul. I'm here to go on whatever adventure Yona chooses with, even if I'm not very excited. I mean, like, there's a lot of political stuff, and I'm like, this is just a little bit too much for my brain. I'm like, just give me a little something lighter. But I'm like, I love these characters. I am so heartbroken that I'm caught up. In fact, when I finished last night, I got really emotional. I was like, I'm caught up. You know, I'm not going to say goodbye to these characters by any means, because I said that moment that I had of Jaeha editing that video was so special to me, and it's going to be something special in my heart and how I view him differently. Sinha is the same way. Kija, I mean, Zeno, all of these characters have this strong, impressionable impression on me, and I don't want to lose them. Even though there's times I don't love this story, it's not bad. Like, the storytelling is amazing. It's just a little bit different than what I typically enjoy of what I would call a quote-unquote favorite. But the characters themselves are favorites. I love each of them. I said Jaeha and I have come so far. I've really enjoyed seeing him grow personally as a character. Maybe that doesn't make sense after saying all of that because it's just personal, but I wanted to share it because I'm just like, you know, I'm glad how characters like this can just touch you and encourage you in the most unexpected way. Like I said, it's just eyes. I mean, it's not anything hugely big, but it was for me, especially with past memories and stuff. And so I'm like, I'm thankful for his character, which is part of why I want to go back and reread it, especially his story, to see how my view has changed since then. All right, I knew I rambled a lot about Jaeha, so let's go and talk about Zeno. Man, I feel so bad. When Zeno came on page, it was so anticlimactic. I was not fond of his character. I was like, we've had 3 fantastic, amazing backstories. There wasn't a bunch of fanfare or a bunch of dilemma or a bunch of like, I'm gonna serve you ASAP. Like, no. I really struggled with this character for quite a bit, but when you get Zeno's backstory, you just know, you know that your view of Zeno is going to change, and it definitely did. I'm not going to say I enjoyed his backstory because his backstory was very hard, and he's a very admirable character. In fact, there is an image of him and another character, I'll share it here, that I took a picture of. It lives rent-free in my head. Zeno's not my favorite dragon. I love all the dragons, but he's not my favorite in the sense of like Sinha and Kija, but that moment was just so inspiring to me. The compassion that Zeno has been able to display, but also he's very shrewd. He may seem like he's not that cool compared to the other dragons because he's not nearly as flashy, but his shrewdness is something else. He comes on, he says asks these questions, he says these things, and it's like, bro, do we really know the true Zeno? Do we know who you actually are? And even in this final volume, volume 36, well, final volume of where I'm caught up, that I was like, Zeno, you're saying some things. You were saying some things, and I ain't liking what you're saying. Like, what are you saying, Zeno? I need answers. I need answers, which leads me to think that my original plan was just going to continue to collect the volumes, because that's definitely my plan. Pre-order them as they come out, order them, grab them, however. And then I was going to let them pile up, and then I was going to binge read them. But at the end of volume 36, I was like, I need answers. I'm going to have to, when volume 37 comes out, I'm going to have to read it because I need to know what is going to happen. And I'm like, oh, volume 38 doesn't release until March next year. I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be brutal. So Zeno, he's a great character. Don't underrate him. I feel like based off other reviews I've read, we've all done it, but don't. Just hang on. See what this young man is about. There's so much more to him than just at the beginning where he seems like he's the comic relief. No, there's so much more to Zeno. Loved having him among these dragons and how truly he's like the older brother, and I love how he gets more emotional in ways, especially as the series goes on. I really, really love that. And I will say Sinha, combine their names together. Sinha and Zeno, I love their playful friendship so very much. I absolutely adore it. It is everything. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. These four guys, but specifically Zeno, there's so much more to him than meets the eye, and he's a very interesting character, and I'm just glad that now I can say that I'm glad that he's here, that I don't find him anticlimactic or anything like that like I first did. I'll stop there because I'm a little bit afraid I'll go into spoilers if I say too much. Okay. Shout out to Editor T, which was YONA of the Dawn's editor, I think for a really long time until it went over to Editor H. The old guys. I love these dudes. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Editor T, for pushing that these old guys get some spotlight. I love this volume. In fact, I was like, this needs to hurry up and come back in stock because I need it on my shelf. I love General Gute, I think I say his name, and General Judo. Oh my goodness, they are so fantastic. They are so great. Like, there's definitely times with General Judo that I'm like, I don't know how I feel about you, bud, but I love them. I love them both. Like, when they're on there, the old guys in this series, they just rock, man. Like, they are so cool. I'm like, give them some love, give it some time and some attention because they totally deserve it. Like, they're so fantastic. I just had to spotlight them because I'm like, they deserve the attention. They deserve to be on this cover, okay? They are so fantastic. Oh my goodness. I love them. Every time they're on page, I can't help but smile. I can't help but be like, oh, you're so great. Granted, in the later volumes, I wasn't smiling when Judo was on scene, but there's a lot of stuff going on, so it's hard to be happy. But during these early times, oh, they're so great. They're so fantastic. They're just so fantastic. I feel like I should talk about YONA, but man, I don't know what to say that like where it wouldn't go into spoilers. And let's do volume 12 because YONA, I feel like her and I have come so far. Truly, when they say give it time, give it time. And I know not everybody wants to like, if I'm not digging this manga, I'm not giving the time of day. And I am so thankful that I read this series. I was able to be on this adventure with her because it has been phenomenal. And I'm like, I would have been so crestfallen and sad if I would have missed out on seeing that. It's definitely not been easy for YONA, and seeing her grow as a young woman and as a warrior, as a fighter has been truly phenomenal. I mean, it's slow going, it may seem. I wouldn't say that like it's boring slow going. The more you read, the more you see this is not the YONA who was in this volume. This is not the YONA who was just at volume 1. she can hold her own. She can rock things that I never imagined her being able to rock, not because I doubted her, but now because I'm like, I needed to see that and needed to know she could do this. I mean, her grace and the way that her compassion for people is so admirable. I love the beginning or not the beginning, but like the middle, and seeing just her grow as a young woman, seeing her as a princess and her genuinely care for her people. It's so very good. It is so worth reading more of Yona just to see Yona personally grow as a young woman. I know many times she says she's not going to forgive this person, but her actions of what she does in certain situations is mind-blowing. I'm like, I don't know if I have the grace or the energy or the kindness that you were displaying right now, Yona, to certain characters. Her story is one you need to read. I mean, it, like I said, has ups and downs, not bad or anything, but it's an emotional roller coaster. That's what I should be saying. It's an emotional roller coaster, but it is so worth it. It's so satisfying. There's so many times I feel like now when I was getting near the end of being caught up that I could not get over the fact of how much this young woman has grown. That she constantly is surprising me. And I feel like the people around her and even her friends, I'm just like, girl, you rock. You rock. And I will just leave it at that. She comes a long way and she definitely is queen. Let's talk about this girl right here, Riri. I love Riri. I loved her from the time we saw her. I love her growth, her story. Her and Yona's friendship is everything about this time. I echo what like the manga said in a sidebar. I want to see more female characters on page, and Riri delivered, or Riri was more than I ever expected for having another female character, female companion on page. Her arc in this story was excellent. I love the Water Tribe. I love Riri just as a character. She is so incredibly fantastic, and just again, her growth, specifically too, her friendship with Yona is everything. Yona really needed that girlfriend to be able to share deep things with and have those girly moments, and I was living for it. I loved it so very much. You knew when Riri was on page, things were going to be awesome. It was going to be an adventure. It was going to be exciting because she's very lively, and that carried over on page, and I have just been so thankful that this manga doesn't just bring people in and to be forgotten. Yes, you may meet them a while back, but they're coming back, and Riri does that time and time again, and I have deeply loved seeing her on page so very much because she's an incredible young woman. She is very headstrong, she's very dedicated, she loves her people very dearly, and it just comes out in every single action that she has of how much that is true time and time again. I cannot wait to see her. It's been a little bit since I saw her when it comes to where the volumes ended, and I'm like, come on Riri, come on back. Yona needs you, she needs that friend, and Riri is just, I know she's doing great and wonderful things, and I'm just so excited that we got to meet her. She's so great. She's just so great. Oh man. Hawk. I don't even know what to say about Hawk. Like, this dude, like, when he's shirtless, he's so buff. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, I don't know. I mean, I know that all these guys are really muscular, that they are really buff, but I don't know. I'm like, it's sort of like a shock when you actually see him. I know it's like completely random, but I don't even know what triggered. Probably because in one of the, I think volume 36, we have definitely some shirtless Hawk in that. So it's just like, oh my goodness. But anyway, Hawk is an incredible character. I love the Wind Tribe, and he's from the Wind Tribe. The Wind Tribe is great. I mean, they are such a fantastic, like, anytime you know they're on page, it's going to be wonderful. Hawk himself is, man, I liked him in the beginning. You view him very much as just a bodyguard that he is, but his feelings and his personal story are so complicated. There are so many times I had such strong compassion for him. This volume, oh my goodness, this volume, this expression says it all, and just there's so much going on in Hawk's heart, and it was hard to see unfold at certain times because, like, oh my goodness, like Hawk, like there's so much more to him being simply the Thunder Beast or this powerful warrior. He is those things. His story is another one that reminds me of Jaeha, where I'm like, you have come so far. You have come so far than who you were at the beginning, and how he's acting now is surreal. I never would have imagined that the decisions and the actions that Hawk has done would be what they are now compared to the beginning. Truly, he's another one that has come so incredibly far. He is such a great character. I don't know if he's like one of my favorite characters. I love his character. I mean, Sinha, like, I'm sorry, I feel bad. Like, Sinha outshines everybody else, and then Gija is number 2. So it's hard for me to say, but I love his character as well, and just, I have been so caught off guard by how he's just so much more than just this fighter. Like, I've really have enjoyed that so very much. And I'm totally living for those Yona and Hawk moments when they come because they're so amazing. He's such a passionate young man and very fiery, and it's just really great to see him kicking butt on page. Like, truly, so many times when he is in battle, I'm just in awe. Like, this man is powerful. He's deadly, but he's an amazing character. And like I said, just how he gets his own story and not just the guard of Yona is really great. I love how he takes control of his own future later on. It was so funny. Like, there's some great humor that comes with Hawk, and just the involvement of the dragons and other characters. It is so so great. I really love Hawk's character. Just all these characters, I mean, they're so great. You meet so many different people. Like, oh, I didn't even talk about Yoon, the pretty boy genius. I love Yoon. I don't know if he's an underrated character per se, but I love seeing him on page so very much. I love him and Yona's friendship deeply. he's so wonderful. He's so wonderful. His growth is amazing as well. I love his passionate, well, maybe not passionate. Well, he is very passionate. He's passionate about helping people, and I love how that drives him and fuels him, and how he gets angry when people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing because he's trying to help them recover faster. He is so great. I love him on page. I have loved him in these latest volumes. I love this volume. This is a volume that I, just for the cover alone, I want it because I'm like, Yoon is on it and he is great. And I love a certain character that, trying to think of how to word this. I won't say that character's name, but oh my goodness, he is so fantastic. And I really love how he pushed Yoon here. Their backstory together was everything and was very emotional. Before we saw Yoon's face, as I was originally going to say, we meet a lot of different characters, and I love these two characters. They were so wonderful. I was like, they're so great. I love how this manga, she'll introduce you to a character, but don't be like sad if you're like, oh, we'll never see him again. She brings them back. She brings them back every single time, and I was so happy she brought them back. Like, they are so great. I was like, we need more of them. We need more of them. I'm waiting and holding out for them to come back on page. I guess, though, I will stop there because my camera's saying, like, hey, that the battery's going to be running out, and I didn't realize it was going to do that because I didn't charge it. So I just thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed my rambles. As you can see, maybe as you were following my Goodreads reviews, you were like, Laura, you probably aren't loving this series. No, I hope that this video reflects how much I love these characters, how much this story has touched me, impacted me, and I'm so deeply thankful that the voting that was going on with Manga and Anime, that this series was one of the series that won, and I had the chance to read it because I feel like I probably wouldn't have picked it up otherwise. I'm like, it's longer than Kimi ni Todoke, so I'm like, wow, I'm like, this is the longest shoujo series that I have read. So again, thank you so much for watching, friends. I really, really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed all of my rambles. If you've read YONA of the Dawn, I would love to know who are some of your favorite characters, because I just realized I forgot to talk about Taejun at the beginning, and I absolutely love him so very much. He's so fantastic. But yes, I would love to hear from you, friends. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!